Yo, what's poppin' YouTube family? It's your man Jeremy Doodoo here. Over the past few weeks, it seems like a few people in my comment section, they've been asking me about what are my thoughts on going to a Google UX certificate course, going to a boot camp, or even going to a university program to get started in the field of UX. So if you have similar questions, hopefully this video helps you out based on my own personal experience in the field over the past 6 years. If this is your first time looking at one of my videos, welcome. Thank you for being willing to listen to this old man ramble on. But I personally have experience with going to a boot camp. I actually went to General Assembly's Web Development Immersive course back in 2014. And after I took that course, I gained the self-awareness that I wanted to be a UX designer, and I began learning on my own. I've been a UX designer ever since, and currently I'm working at one of the largest tech companies in the world, which is Salesforce. Anyways, I feel like there are two buckets that people fall into when they're trying to understand if they want to get into the field. The first is that they're curious about UX design, but they're not sure if they want to make the jump completely into the field yet to pursue a career as a designer. And the second bucket I feel like is that you understand that you want to be a designer, you trying to make it to the big leagues, you want to work for a large tech company or just get your big break in your first gig as a UX designer. So if you fall into either of those buckets, I'm sure that there are others, like you want to learn UX design skills because you're a product manager or whatever. Those are like tertiary kind of buckets, but if you fall into those first two, hopefully this video helps you out. So if you're curious, you're not really sure if you want to be a UX designer, here's my advice. I don't think it makes sense to go to a boot camp or a university program just go all in, because that can be really expensive and you could put yourself in a hole of debt, right? And a lot of folks who go through the education system do this, right? They think that they want to be a lawyer or a doctor. They spend 120 grand on going through those programs just to find out that they actually don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer at all. So my suggestion would be to take a few courses on Team Treehouse or Skillshare, and look at other YouTubers like myself to understand the basics of what's involved in the UX design career. Once you understand the basics, then I would suggest that you just try to do a self-initiated project where you implement the basics understandings of what you learned. So whether it be discovery of trying to figure out what the challenge you're trying to solve for is with an application or website, do that. Create personas, create a storyline, get into wireframes, get into testing out those wireframes with some of the people that are closest to you in your life. Iterate on those designs and do some high fidelity mock-ups of what that app or website would look like. And then I think you'll start to understand if UX design is a career that you want to pursue or not. And you can take as long as you want for this project, because the goal is just to understand if you like the process of what it takes to be a UX designer. And I think it's just fun overall to challenge yourself in different ways. And once you do this a few times, I feel like then you'll have a solid understanding if you want to be a UX designer. And it wouldn't take that much money, right? You spend maybe 20 bucks on Skillshare or Team Treehouse. You look at online videos from YouTube for free. You can even reach out to UX designers to pick their brains. But I feel like you don't want to invest so much money up front and put yourself in a hole just to find out, I don't want to do UX design at all, because you can learn about UX in your own time by doing self-initiated projects. And I feel like experience is always the best teacher. And just from my personal experience, I actually did a self-initiated project back in 2014, where I made this barbershop application and website. I just mocked them up, right? I just mocked some UI up on different screens. I put it into a Marvel app prototype, and eventually that prototype got me connected to somebody who was interested in my work at a job fair, and that person got me connected to a job interview, and that's how I got my first full-time role. So don't think that this is a complete waste of time, because you never know where these self-initiated projects can take you. As for people who are in the second bucket, who know that they want to be a UX designer, they're just not sure what step to take, whether that be a certificate program online or a boot camp or a university. Here's my advice to you. There are a ton of different boot camps out there nowadays, and a lot of times, even when I graduated, I found that the graduates of those programs usually have similar portfolios where they've worked on similar projects, and their portfolios just look the same. So I think that if you do decide to go the boot camp route, and your learning style is that you learn in a group setting and you want to learn some hands-on skills rather than theory-based learning like universities teach, then just understand that your portfolio has to help you stand out somehow. And what I often tell graduates from bootcamp programs is to look at the different things that they're passionate about. If you're into photography, if you're into plants like I am, or you have some kind of hobby, do a self-initiated project where you find challenges with people who also have that same hobby that you do. Do some kind of project that differentiates you from everyone else in your class, or everyone else applying to the same jobs. Because in the beginning, your skills are important, but your story is what connects you to hiring managers, and it's what makes you stand out from the rest, right? And if you have something that can connect to a hiring manager who might be into the same hobby, or they see the same challenges that are in the world, then that gives you a much better chance of getting a call back than all of the same portfolio projects that everyone's putting out. Think about yourself as some great artist or a singer, like in rap nowadays, right? Everybody sounds the same. But, if you want to stand out, you have to do something that's completely different. So, that's my advice if you go the boot camp route. But if you go the university route, the benefit of doing that is that a lot of large companies, if your goal is to work at a large company, they look at these graduates in a better light than bootcamp graduates. So you have a better chance of getting an internship, you have a better chance of getting a job just because of the prestige of your university's name if you go through like an HCI program at some kind of university. So that's the pro. But don't think that just because you go to a boot camp or you go through some online certificate course that your dreams of becoming a UX designer are done. It just means that your path might be a little bit different. So oftentimes what I've seen from boot camp graduates is that they start off at a contract role, or they end up freelancing for some time. They build up a little bit of experience, and then they get offered jobs at these larger companies. So your path might just take a little bit longer if your goal is to work at a large company, but you do have opportunities to work contract roles at small companies or agencies, or if you live in a small town, maybe there might be a company in your town that's willing to work with their first UX designer, right? But the con is that you'll be that UX designer who didn't get mentored or help from a team that's guiding you in your journey in the beginning. There's a designer named Tobias Van Schneider who used to work at Spotify, and he's a very well-known self-taught designer who didn't go to university, and he's one of the biggest designers in the industry. So he's also one of my favorite designers. So definitely check out his blogs and any material that he writes up, because it's amazing content that he puts out there. But you know, what I hope that you can take from this video is that there isn't one right way to, there's not a right way to become a UX designer. You can go the self-taught route if you're very determined and you have that self-discipline. And if you have an amazing portfolio, that's just as good as a college degree, right? There are folks who work at the Googles and Facebooks of the world who actually didn't go to school, but they have amazing work. They're talented designers, and you know, they didn't have to go through 4 years or a 2-year program where they spent $60,000 to $100,000, right? And they didn't go to boot camp. So if you have that self-discipline and you have the mindset that it takes to do that, then yeah, that's right for you. But what's right for me and what's right for the next person isn't always right for you. You have to really evaluate, you know, your learning style, your life situation. All of our situations are a little bit different. Our mindsets are different. So just be really honest with yourself in order to be able to make that decision on what your next steps are in your UX journey. But my point is with this video is that everybody's journey is a little bit different. There's not one right way to become a UX designer. If you talk to UX designers, all of their stories are completely different. I do think one thing to keep in mind when you're trying to evaluate what path to take, whether that's a university or a boot camp, is to understand that there are no guarantees that you'll get a job after doing these programs. There's a risk to everything that you do. There are some folks who have hit me up who said that, oh, this program, they guarantee that I'll get a job afterwards. That's a gimmick to me. That's a marketing gimmick to get you to spend your money. So just understand that there's a risk in any decision that you make with any program. And there are no guarantees in life. There are folks who go to Harvard Law School and they don't end up becoming lawyers because of different factors, right? But they end up in debt, or they go a different route in life. So there are no guarantees, no matter what route you take. I think in the end, what really matters to get to that long-term goal is the right attitude, because attitude is that goes above aptitude in the beginning. So yeah, guys, I hope that this video helps you out in your journey. If it did, you already know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.